if I have a decision to make, I sit down and I think about it. I weigh out the good possibilities that may come of it, and I weigh out the bad possibilities that may come of it, and I decide whether or not it's a good choice to make, to follow through with the decision or to halt it where it is and continue life as it is.
Recording.
But
yeah, well, we're digitally recording.
It's
right. I don't know what,
as Zen Master says, both a reality and illusion at the same time.
Taking what's on the computer,
That's a great way to put it, honestly.
So it's on a hard drive.
And if anyone else would like to take the mic and join in on this, please feel free. It's open mic, I suppose. So if you'd like to join the conversation, the discussion, feel free to.
You know, there are certain... Oops. God damn it. There are certain things in life that you cannot actually do, right? Like the heart is beating on itself. Okay, Sam Master, if you have a mic, you can join the conversation. And you can say whatever you want, what's on your mind. But you know, the heartbeat, for instance, it beats on itself. You're not saying to yourself, I am doing the heartbeat. I am actually beating my heart. There it is. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I'm beating my heart. I am doing it. I'm in control of that. The same thing with growing hair. You're not doing that. If I say to you, choose between an apple or an orange, choose between an apple and an orange, you say apple, which is just a decision which is also just happening. You didn't choose for an apple. The thought apple arose in you. You observe the thought apple, and then comes an afterthought saying, I just chose apple, which is also a thought which is just happening. So there is no one doing the choosing of an apple. But so you have to be like attentive to thoughts. You have to figure it out for yourself, not through mental projections, through books. You have to really find it out for yourself. Investigate, look into what is happening. Look into what the direct experience is of life itself. Because if you find out, well, if you find out that there is no I, there is no separate self, then there is no suffering anymore. So Zen Master, I see your hands up to the mic.
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. One thought I had was that, you know, we know the universe is about roughly since the beginning of let's say the laws of physics. I don't know if I could say how old the universe is, but I could say the laws of physics are about 13.5 billion years old, right? And oftentimes we think of ourselves as a body that was born after 9 months in the womb, right, in our mother's womb. And that's accurate, right? And most people walking around on earth would say, yes, I'm a body. I spent 9 months in my mother's womb and I'm here today. But what's often forgotten, what we often overlook, is the sublime. We often overlook the fact that in order for our mother to be there, or in order for even humanity to be there, or order even for Earth to be there, or for life to be there, protein molecules, etc., right? The entire universe had to also have evolved 13.5 billion years, including the environment in which we were born into. So we could view ourselves as a duality. We're both the body and we are the universe at the same time. So I often say, the moment you were born, two things happened. You were born to your body, and the universe was born to your perspective. When we look at the world and we have this objective and the subjective experience, right, we're seeing that. Our inner world is the universe. That's the universe saying I. And our external world is our body. That's the world of culture, everything we've been taught, the survival of the fittest, all of that stuff that exists outside of ourselves, the physical animal that makes us up is the body. Both exist simultaneously, and both exist in a balance that's a paradox, because neither could exist without the other, but at the same time they do. And that's the nature of the universe. So next time you say I, you're not saying I singular, you're saying I duality, in that you're referring to I both as your body and as the universe speaking from your perspective. I don't know if that makes any sense. Next on Mike.
Welcome. So, welcome GBN. Yeah, I can hear what you're trying to say, Zen Master. But is there really two things happening? Because from a enlightened position, there is no I, right? There is only universe. Seen from a separate position, there is only I, no universe. So you can say it like there are two things happening, but is it actually happening, or is it only the belief which is happening, or the belief which is running the show, so to speak? The belief in a separate entity which is running the show. You see? So there are two views on it. One from an enlightened view, which is not a view at all, because there is no one. It says that there is no one, only universing, so to speak. But if you think yourself to be separate and think yourself to be working, you have to work on it in order to know that there is only universe without the separate entity. Then there is separation and suffering, and it doesn't matter if it's suffering or happiness, both are the same thing. Believing in positive thoughts is creating positive emotions. It's the same shit that happens when you feel sad. It creates negative emotions. It forms part of the same belief. Belief to be a thinker of thoughts, right? So yeah, two things are happening at the same time. It seems like it is, and I underline the word seems. So, but yeah. Welcome, Altera. Zen Master, Mike is yours.
Yeah, another way to look at it, though, is to look at it from the perspective of time. Right? I spoke about it with the I from the perspective of self. But we could take humanity out of the equation and just look at it from the perspective of time. Okay? Time has fully emerged, right? You could almost think of time in a similar paradox, right? Every bit of time that will ever happen already happened, right? The universe is expanding, and it's already expanded to its maximum, right? However, the moment of now is significant to us. Why? Why is now significant? The reason it is as the universe expands, the average position, your average position on the timeline is what you experience as now. The reason it moves in a direction, right? In other words, the laws of physics define that the concept of entropy, says that time has an arrow. It moves in the direction of of uh, of of order towards disorder, right? It moves in the direction of hot towards cold. That's because the universe is expanding. And what's happening is, as the universe expands, the moment of now is nothing more than your average place on the timeline. And again, it's one of these paradoxes. It's the same thing. It's just, instead of looking at the paradox from the perspective of I, as I said in the previous time I keyed up, we look at the paradox from the perspective of time and what's happening on everybody has a world line, right? Your beginning and your end exist. Everything you ever will think exists already at some place out there. It's just not in your grasp, because you're living in a body. A body is made of atomic structure that rotates relative to time. So we perceive the moment of now as significant. We're born in these bodies. But now is not significant. It's average. It's the average place in the universe, and it moves because the universe is expanding. Next on, Mike.
I thought you said somewhere that couldn't expand. You said it a couple different things that sounded contradictory. Go ahead.
It's a paradox, right? You could almost think of it as think of your world line, right? Everything you ever were and everything you will ever become. And you could decide arbitrarily, is that this lifetime or is that every lifetime? I don't really care how you look at it. Just think of your world line. Everything you ever were and everything you will ever become already exists. Every thought you ever had is out there, right? You're just not experiencing it. The reason you don't experience it is because we are in bodies and we're experiencing the universe from the perspective of a physiology that sees the world through its single narrow straw vision of the senses. And that narrow straw vision of the senses is in a body that vibrates, made of atomic structure that rotates relative to time, right? Electrons move around the nucleus of atoms, right? They're little clocks. They're basically holding your physiology in a moment of time. That moment of time that constitutes you is the average place on your world line. So it's a paradox, just like the I, the sense of I, is a paradox. Next up, Mike.
Yeah, I've tried many times to understand what this now actually means. What is actually happening, right? What is the truth? Why can I not be in the past or in the future? Because that's a thought arising in the now, right? A thought about the past or a thought about the future arising in this moment. So all there is, talking to you guys on the mic. That's what's happening right now. But, death is not experience right now. Me being, so to speak, 88 years old, dying from a heart attack, that's not actually happening. But the way I see it is like the Big Bang, right? The Big Bang. It needs some time for us to experience the Big Bang, right? Like light, which comes from the Big Bang. It's not experienced now. It takes a while for the light to hit the planet of Earth, for us to experience light. The same with thoughts. The same with the things that I'm gonna do, the actions of the body. Is that how it works? Like the Big Bang, in the Big Bang itself, all the information was hidden in the Big Bang, and it's now coming towards us. There's nothing that I can do about it. There's nothing that I can do to have other thoughts, because the Big Bang is already deciding that for us, so to speak. See, I'm not sure about that. I don't understand. I cannot grasp it. can't grasp this thing. I don't know. Sam Master, Mike is yours.
All right, I'm going to try to help you grasp it, Toe. I want you to, for a moment, blur the line that you've learned your whole life as to where you end and the universe begins. Right? Your whole life you've been taught, at the end of my finger is where I end. I want you to blur that line for a minute. Pretend for a minute you don't know that you end at the end of your finger. Okay? The reason you've thought that for all these years is because that's what your senses have taught you, right? When I touch something, I feel it. Therefore, I am that which I can touch. That's what you've learned in your body, right? And thank God you have, because that's how your physiology, that's how life evolved in rainforests, right? What I see is outside of me. What I hear is outside of me. So for a moment, I want you to suspend that belief and imagine, if you would, you do not end at your senses. What you're sensing is yourself, or aspects of yourself. That's what's outside of you. And I'm going to prove it to you. Okay? Memory, we've been taught, is, some electrochemical, electrochemical reaction in the brain, right? Memory is your sense organ that's constantly expanding. It's constantly growing, because as we move, the past is constantly growing, right? It was at one time, at the beginning of the universe, the past was 0, right? Then when atoms formed, or the first early molecules, the past was 300,000, right? Then when galaxies and novas formed, and even Earth, the past has evolved. Even pre-Earth, let's say the past was, 10 billion years. Then Earth formed, the past is now 13.5 billion years. So the past is always growing, as is your long-term memory, right? Your long-term memory behaves exactly like the past. It is constantly growing. As you experience things, your long-term memory. So your long-term memory is your sense organ for the past, okay? Each sense organ you have also has a certain type of memory associated with it. For example, your visual cortex has sensory memory associated with it. It holds about 1/30th of a second worth of vision. If you were to look at a computer animation that flashes faster than 1/30th of a second, like a cartoon, it appears like continuous motion. If you were to observe a computer animation that goes slower than 1/30th of a second, it flickers on the screen. That's because the image of the computer is recorded in your visual cortex for 1/30th of a second. Okay? The same is true with sensory memory, auditory memory, which is associated with hearing. Right? You have about some finite amount of auditory memory. Now, proof that you have an auditory memory is the fact that you can hear a single raindrop when you're inside of a tent. Right? Imagine if rain were hitting the tent, theoretically, you should only hear white noise, right? However, our brain is by because the sensory memory records, right? So, and the same is true for all the other memory, but I won't go through all the examples for you, but what I will say is sensory memory is the memory associated with now. So now, and proof of that, just like long-term memory is always growing, sensory memory is instantaneous. The only thing is the definition of instantaneous changes with respect to each sense. Now, what about the future? How is memory the future? Imagine a cockroach on the floor, right, running around. Over time, that cockroach learns, if I avoid the center of the room, I don't get stepped on. And if I go over here, I get moisture, and over here I get lots of breadcrumbs, right? That cockroach needs to learn to utilize his experiences of the past and his sensors of the current to predict the future, right? That's the function of his consciousness, right? To be able to figure out where to find food, how to procreate, right? All the things that are required, how to survive the foot stomping, right? The same applies to humans. Our consciousness is our attempt to be able to predict the future so that we can survive. So what we perceive to be our consciousness is really our ability, or it's the combination of a variety of mental facilities that allow us to procreate, find food, survive, and have conversations like this, predicting the future. Next on, Mike.
So that's the corporeal five senses memory, right? How do you think then that the spiritual, the other part of the memory, enters the five senses to create the sensation, or somehow it's going to make a sensation, I'd assume, of timelessness? And then the individual is time traveling, right? Transcending time and space while living in the physical body.
Why in the name of God do people have to be so rude and obnoxious to people? Is there no love? Is there no more compassion? Is there no more support in this path? I am not a whore. I am not a whore, damn it. And I don't want to be called that. I am a respectable person. I'm not something you go and stand on the street corner and try to collect money for just to get what I want. I don't deserve that. And people don't need rooms made up of because they're homosexuals or because they're black. What would you feel like if somebody made fun of your pain? Do you think that would hurt you? Do you think you might feel a little annoyed? That was terrible what you've done.
One thing to be aware of is that the concept of inertia, right? That, there's this concept of inertia with mass, right? Mass resists change, right? If an object placed in motion will want to remain in motion. It wants to resist the change of slowing down, right? When you drive in a car and you take a hard right turn, you feel your body wanting to go in the direction that it was going in, right? That's resisting the inertia to the change of direction. The universe resists change. Anytime you have a conversation anywhere in the universe that might imply people need to change or see the universe in a new way, there will be a disruption. There will be, I guarantee it. You cannot, because the universe resists it. It doesn't want you to evolve. Everybody thinks it does. It doesn't. The universe is happy the way it is. It's content. It's only, no one evolves if they're content. It's pain. Think about your life. When have you ever changed? It's always been under pain. Nobody ever says, oh, I'm going to change. I'm happy. I'm going to change. Nobody does that. We're forced on every level, only to change due to pain. Next up, Mike.
Welcome back, Joyful. I cannot grasp this now. I'm sorry, guys. Nothing is happening. Well, you're saying that everything is already happening. Everything that is now it has already happened. It seems like the now is a moving kind of thing. There is now, there is now, there is now. It moves, right? But the movement of now is also happening in now. I don't grasp this. It's difficult. I cannot get out of this now. Only with thoughts, through thoughts, I can get out of this now, like saying, "Oh, I was born 35 years ago," but that doesn't happen. The 35 years ago doesn't happen now. I cannot be born again, so to speak, in the now. It has happened. But even to say that it has happened is a bit too much. So I can only go to the future and the past by thinking about it, which is happening in the now. So I can see that there is only now, but I don't know what it is. But it seems like it's a moving now, right? Like 30 years from now, something else will happen. So that's not happening at this moment. And the past is also not happening at this moment. So the wane doesn't. I don't know what I'm saying. I might better shut up for a while and just listen to what you guys are saying about this, because talking about it through my view is just going to ignore the fact that there is now. I'm already into fantasies and interpretations and stuff like that. So, Zen Master, take the mic. Maybe you will enlighten us with this. That there is only now, because it really has to do with belief and all this I crap, believing ourselves to be separate and all this. I think you are pointing us to something much deeper than that. You know, this now, the truth that we all are looking for, it has to do with this now. And I'm not sure what it is. So Zen Master, take the mic.
I'll try new words, then I'll drop the subject. Okay. It's perspective. You are both the universe and a body, right? When you are looking at the universe from the perspective of being the universe itself, right? From that sense, past, present, and future have already unfolded. Everything that can happen has already happened. Okay? When you perceive the universe from the perspective of your body, right, the moment of now is unfolding. The past already happened, and the future will happen. Both are true, right? From the perspective of the body, now is real, right? We eat food, we survive, right? That's real, right? From the perspective of now, when you're in meditation, now is a river. It's something out there that's twinkling along, it's changing, while you do not change. So it's like you live both the universe and the body simultaneously. Sometimes you hear people say the big self and the little self. I don't know if that makes any sense. Next on, Mike.
Yeah, I've heard Joel speak over the past couple of weeks. He says the ego is inside the body. And sure, but isn't it, looking at it as a unified body, Okay, so let's say 7 billion people all connected, and here's their will to receive, here's this desire. But I think that all these 7 billion people connected only make up a really small part of the ego. I think the ego at that point is outside of that unified collective, that what actually desires the connection, the adhesion with the universe, universal love and light, however you want to call it, that connects us to the sensations of what it is to transcend time and space. Well, that ego, it seems to be much bigger and stronger, and I'm depicting it this way for a reason, but and that it's outside of the collective, depicting it outside of the collective as well as inside of the entire unified collective. But outside of the collective, it's a little different in its desires, its wants for as far as the connection, adherence, and continuity thereof with the upper light, the universal love and light, this type of thing. I think that depicting it, feeling it that way, may lead to the sensations of what it would be to transcend time and space while remaining in the physical body. With that said, I'll yield the mic.
What do you think, Cupcake? Do we even dare go there? No, looks like the boys are having a good time. I'll just sit back and watch for a while longer. I think the boys are having a very good discussion, yes. It's been interesting to just sit here and listen to their thoughts and their ideas, and it's fascinating, rather. But feel free to continue. Oh, right, yes, I'm enjoying the sound also. Joy, I've just been informed that we sound a lot alike. Apparently we have similar voices. I find that interesting. Well, you know, Cupcake, when you're speaking, I don't notice it, but when I hear the echo of what you just said, I notice it. I keep thinking that I'm copying you. When I hear the echo in the background, you're probably not hearing it. But when I hear the echo in the background, I keep thinking, Joy, what are you doing? Why are you copying her? And then I realize it's not me at all. But wait a minute. It is me. You are me, Cupcake. We are one. I don't think I mind being one with someone such as you. I think that you're not a bad person. You're very easy to talk to. You're entertaining. I do hear the echo because Joel has the room playing through the speakers behind me, and so I can definitely hear it. Well, you know what? When you said, I don't think I mind being one with someone like you, it would only be the mind that would mind anything anyways, right? And you're not just mind. Mind are the thoughts that come from brain activity, and you're not just the brain.
and you're not just your thoughts. So it would only be mind that minds anything anyway. So if you do mind, it's mind minding mind.
Mind minding mind.
Mind minding mind. My mind can mind itself. Sometimes my mind doesn't mind at all. Sometimes I don't mind. Sometimes I mind. Mind minds mind. Do you mind?
I don't mind. My mind doesn't mind all the time. Sometimes it goes off on its own little tangent and disobeys any orders I give it. Things like that are interesting.
My mind says my mind. Okay. Anyways, Altera, Zen Master, excuse the interruption. Can you tell me more about your mind? Listen to this. I'm getting a phone call. I wonder if I mind. Let me look who it is. Oh, no, it's my daughter. I don't mind. I'll be back.
No.
That was quite the ringtone.
Well, if anybody around here tries to find a mind of sorts, and they do find it, it's not going to surprise us that you know that individual probably had tried to transcend the mind. You might have to be dead to do that, though. I'm not sure.
I was going to say you could take a pair of tweezers and pick one molecule at a time out of the body and make a pile. And when you're all done, right, you'd have an entire pile of stuff that made us up. And not one piece of that tweezer would touch your mind.
That's very true, JBN. We do have to be mindful while negotiating the mind field. I think that might be difficult for some people, though, myself included.
Do you mean if we're outside of the mind, then maybe we'll get a sensation of bestowing or controlling the five senses? Maybe we'll get the sensation of controlling other people's reality when it's just something pulling the strings, giving us the sensation that we can control our own reality, when it's simply not true because we haven't transcended all that enough. Which would go along with what I was saying earlier about that ego the part of the ego that's not just within the body, but the part of the ego that is external from the collective consciousness. Go ahead, Zen.
Right. One of the things they've recently discovered, and they discovered it by studying people with damaged brains, is that when a person is asleep, right, what happens is we have random activity in our brain, right, random synaptic activity. And then as we wake up, we rationalize that into the story. Like in the last few milliseconds as we're waking up, that's when we create the dream story, the context of the dream. We rationalize it. And from studying people with certain damaged brains, that what they've realized is that what the brain does is rationalize. Right? That's what the brain's constantly doing. We're constantly rationalizing reality. In other words, several seconds after, milliseconds after our senses perceive a reality, or I should even say it simpler. That's because I'm making it too complicated here. In a dream, there's random synaptic activity occurring in the brain, and we create the story. Right? Nobody could argue that. Except maybe with premonition dreams, you know, something like that. You might be able to argue it. But for all practical purposes, we're creating the story when we dream. The only difference between waking state and dreaming state is that the activity in our brain isn't random. It's being directed by the senses when we're awake. We're still creating the story. The brain doesn't do something different when we're in a dream than when we're awake. It's doing exactly the same thing. That's why sometimes you talk to people and you're wondering, what world are they in? What are they hearing? I'm not saying that. They're hearing that. Right? What's happening is in the contextual framework that they live in, right, they're listening, they're sensing, they're seeing the same information as everyone else, but they're interpreting it differently and reacting to it. Like, let's say you tell a friend a joke. He laughs at it. You know, you tell that same joke to somebody who's not your friend, and they could take offense. How could you say that about? In other words, that's them, not you. Your same joke, right? It's their choice to interpret reality in a negative way versus a positive way. And the point is, the difference is illusion. That's the difference. Reality is malleable. We create it as we go. And mind is what we call the illusion of waking state. It's just a dream that's created because the senses are feeding us information, as opposed to, in a dream world, random synaptic activity is feeding us experience. Next on, Mike.
So the question is, Zen Master, I have a question for you. If I take a look at a pen, for instance, which is in front of me, right? It feels like that the pen is separate from that which looks at the pen, right? It seems like there is a separate pen on the table, right? That's how it seems like. There's the virtual illusion, right? That you're talking about. But actually, what is it that is looking at, that the pen is being looked at? In other words, what is it that touches the pen, so to speak? What is it that is behind the eyes and that is observing that the pen is being seen by the eyes? You see, that's really the question, because it seems like that there is no one doing this seeing, right? That seeing is just happening, or the seeing of the pen, or seeing that the pen is being seen is happening. So what is it that sees this, and what is the relationship with what you are talking about, or that you're trying to explain to us? like the now. What the heck? I mean, it seems like there is a looking or an awareness, and at the same time it seems like the manifestation of what is also something separate from this awareness. So there's an awareness of the pen, which are two things happening. There is an awareness that which sees everything, and there is the pen, which is a manifestation of what is. So how can you, why does it seem like that there is a separation? You know, like the famous experiments that are being done, that have been done, like that there is a observer needed in order for manifestation to be. You know, the observer principle. So it seems like awareness, that which everything is, everybody is in this room right now, the awareness. Why does it seem like there is still separation between awareness and that's what is happening in the now? I don't see the relationship between awareness and manifestation. It seems like there are two things happening. So I'm not sure if I am the world or if I am awareness. In other words, am I life? Am I the now, or am I the awareness of the now? Well, in short terms, the only thing I want to say is I don't know. Sam wants to take the mic.
You're both. You're both. But here's the challenge. If I tried to explain to you what a strawberry tastes like, I could talk for 100 years and you would never know. Never know. There's no words in the English language or in any language to explain the taste of a strawberry. It tastes something like a cherry, but has a different texture in your mouth. You'd never know. One bite of the strawberry, you know forever. Okay? Now, something as simple as a strawberry, we do not have the language to relate. And you're asking me the most complex question that could be asked. What is consciousness? Right, so all I could say is it's a paradox. But I would also add, like the strawberry, the only way you can know it is to taste it. Right, the only way you could know the difference between the awareness, as we talked about, right, and, you know, the universe outside of that, and what, the objective and the subjective reality, right, is to experience it simultaneously. Have to see it from both perspectives. What happens if you see it only in meditation? When you wake up, you forget, because the process of meditation stops thinking. So when you come out, you don't even remember that you experienced the pen's infinity. You didn't experience, you don't remember that. You only remember the purpose that the pen has. So when you transcend the pen in a meditation, it becomes the universe. You have no memory of that when you come back because you couldn't have a thought while you're in the state of pure being. If that makes sense. I mean, the other thing that's noteworthy is it's relative to you as well, right? For example, try to take human consciousness out of the equation. Always makes it easier, right? What would happen if a monkey looked at that pen? Right? What do they see? Is it a stick? Right? What's that pen to a cockroach? Is it something to climb over? What makes that pen useful is what makes it meaningful to you. It has form and function. But to the cockroach, it might be a barrier, and to the monkey, it might be a stick for picking termites out of a mound. Right? It takes on different purpose based on the consciousness that's looking at it. So we create that pen. We're the ones that make it a pen by the way we interpret it. Imagine a table. It's probably a simpler example, right? Because it's just a flat surface that we could eat off of, right? Anything that fits that criteria of being a flat surface we could eat off of could land in the category of table. But it's the requirement of the consciousness that says, I have a use for that flat surface. I can eat off of it. It's now a table. It just elevated it from random rock on Mars to something that I can use, in my reality. I created that table by thinking it, by seeing it had purpose, by seeing that its form and its function We're one. Go ahead, next on Mike.
I am so
calling
thankful
your
that
lover a companion.
you folks are able
There's
to
a whole-
hold a conversation
There's a whole other
between
side of
yourselves, because
conversation for the public
I
world
keep getting
versus
distracted by
as opposed to,
odd
yeah.
conversations that I hear in the
Everybody
background in the
knows
room here. And so thank you for
Well,
being able to
Collaboration's mission is to connect the dots.
keep it going without me having to contribute too much.
Thanks, Thought Bridges. So yeah, I can sense what you're trying to say, Zen Master. If I take a look at the pen, for instance, the pen is right in front of me. I've actually labeled it a pen. I made the pen, I created something out of this pen. So what is a pen for the toe? Without using any words to describe what a pen is. I don't know, it's just fucking obvious. It's right there. I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure how to describe a pen without words. But actually, the experience of a pen is before the words get added to it. Right? So I'm not sure what awareness is. I'm not sure if the word awareness points to awareness. I'm not sure if there is an awareness. The only thing I really can say is that there is a something here. Existence. Feelings, sitting, talking, holding the control button. There another thought, looking at if somebody has his hand up on the mic. Movement of the leg, so things are happening for sure. And then mind tries to analyze it, like saying there is an awareness of everything. What is it that sees a pen? What is it that hears a sound? What is it that hears a thought? Who is the one who tries to solve all of this? Is that also a thought? Blah blah blah. But yeah, so I can sense what you're trying to say, I think. Yeah, so what is there in the silence? What is there in the silence? Beyond the words. Without having to understand or to explain it through mind, what awareness is. Maybe the direct experience of a pen is much more important than trying to analyze if awareness is separate from the pen, or if the pen and the awareness are one thing, oneness, wholeness, whatever word you want to use for it. So yeah, Zamast, I see your hands up, so take the mic.
Right, in the silence itself. Let me use an example of consciousness that's not human consciousness. Because sometimes we get our egos caught up in, we're like carp trying to understand what it's like to be in the ocean or in the water, right? We can't see the fact that we're submerged while we're submerged. So when you talk about consciousness as a human, we're experiencing consciousness in the process, and it's confusing. So I'm going to use another example of consciousness. Ever see a bean plant climb a pole? Okay? A bean plant it evolved in rainforests that figured out that it knows that if it can climb up to see the sun, right, it has a better chance of survival than if it lays on the floor. So the bean plant has learned over time, in a form of bean consciousness, to climb a pole. Okay? And when we see the result of that, we see how the bean plant climbs the pole, right? We could see that there's form and function in the way that that bean plant has figured out a path to survive, right? Because it can find light where another plant that only lives on the ground can't, and it takes advantage of its environment to find light, much the same way you take advantage of your environment when you grab that pen. So is that bean plant conscious? Is he conscious? Not in the sense you are with the chemical activity of your brain, but he is in a sense of hormonal consciousness, because a bean plant, the way it grows and climbs a pole, is it shoots out a little shoot. You can watch this on YouTube and you can see examples of it, right? It shoots out a little shoot. That shoot spins around, and when it grabs onto something, it wraps it, and that gives it something to hold on to, and it grows towards the light, and then it does it again, and it does it again. Just similarly, the way a sunflower will follow the sun across the sky, right? The shaded side of the sunflower grows, causing it to grow in that direction. And at night, the other side grows to make up for it, and it faces the east again. These are examples of plant consciousness, right? And the key in both cases is that form matches function. So we may not perceive it as consciousness because we want to believe somehow that humans are special because we've evolved a neurochemical, neurological way to appreciate the universe and survive. But other forms of consciousness, just as valid as ours, are coexisting with us right under our noses. We just don't call them that because we're used to defining it from our own perspective. Next on, Mike.
No one has anything to say? Welcome
No, I
back.
agree.
Welcome back,
I
Coach.
like the way you think about it, because you have to break it right down to everything. Yeah.
If anyone would like any airtime, feel free to jump in.
Free wood, all the wood you want out there.
Please, and thank you.
To eat.
Geo, do you
And they have to eat.
so
See,
funny. Geo, do you have any thoughts on aura reading and mind reading techniques? Feel free to share.
Excuse me. Gio, did you know it's a radio show? Yeah. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to click the control key and you want to say that with your voice on the mic so everybody can hear you. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, that would be great. So why don't you try that, okay? We don't mind about your English. It's all right. Let's work it out. That's part of the fun of life, working things out, right? Okay, so come on up. We'll talk you through it. All right. So just press your control key when I let go, and it's your turn. Dun, 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 dun. And here's Digital Geo. That's your cue, Geo.
I think he might be shy, Joy. But that's all right, right? We don't mind. And welcome back, Joy. It's good to hear you.